Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to Interactive Sukhmani Sahib Ji session. So far we completed 21 Ashpatis and we did 2 Padas from 22nd Ashpati. Last week we'll continue from there. And before we start our discussion on 22nd Ashpati, I'll just recite some of the shlokas from few of them from all the 21 Ashpatis we have done so far. Satnam Shri Vaheguru Sahib Ji Adi Gure Namah Jugad Gure Namah Sat Gure Namah Shri Guru Deve Namah मन साचा मुख साचा सोए अवर न पेखै हे कस बिन कोय नानक ए लक्षण ब्रह्म ज्ञानी होए संत सरन जो जन परै तो जन उधरन हार संत की निंदा नानका बहुर बहुर अवतार सर्व कला भरपूर प्रभ बिरथा जानन हार जाकै सिमरन उतरियै नानक तिस बलिहार सतपुरख जिन जानिया सतगुर तिसका नाम तिसकै संग सिख उद्धरै नानक हर गुण गाओ फिरत फिरत प्रभु आया परया तो सरनाए नानक की प्रभु बेनती अपनी भगति लाए सरगुण निर्गुण निरंकार सुन समाधि आपने किया नानका आपे ही फिर जाप. So those are the sloks. That's the 21st Ashpadi slok. Sargun Nirgun Nirankar Sun Samadhi Apan Kiya Nanaka Ape Fir Hi Fir Jab. So that's the Ashpadi we talked about, where Sadhguruji is telling what the state of presence of Vaheguru, that one and only, that divine presence, how is it? How is that state in that whole 21st Ashpadi? He tells us. And then before we go on to the third pada, the 22nd Ashpadi, the slok for 22nd Ashpadi says, Ji jant ke thakura api vartanhar nanak eko pasrya duja keh dishtar. He's still doing that glory of Vaheguru, and just re-emphasizing to us again and again that he is that one divine God, that master of all beings and creatures. He's the one who is there, and there's nobody else which is to be seen. So we'll continue with the third pada. Puran pur rahe dayal. Let me recite it, and then you can recite along if you want to on your mute. Puran pur rahe dayal, sab upar होवत कृपाल, अपने कर्तव्य जाने आप अंतर्जामी रह्यो व्याप प्रितपालय जियन बहु पात जो रच्यो सो तिसै त्यात जिस पावै तिस लय मिलाए भगत करे हर के गुण गाए मन अंतर विश्वास कर मानिया करन हार नानक एक जानिया पूरन पूर रहे दयाल सब ऊपर होवत कृपाल. So in the previous pada, Sadhguru is telling him what he's the master, he's all powerful. He's the one, everything is in his control. And then in this pada, he starts with, he's the most merciful and he's kind to everyone. He says, Puran Pur Rahe Dayal. He's everywhere. He's in Puran, everywhere. There's nothing which is devoid of him. And he's the merciful God. He's benevolent. He has mercy on everyone. Sab upar hovat kirpal. Sab upar, on everyone, hovat kirpal. He extends his kirpa, his kindness, his grace. His grace is on everybody. He's all powerful. He's the master. He has, in the previous verse also said, right? He has all the wealth, he has all the treasure, and he's kind to everyone. Right? अपने कर्तव्य जाने आप अंतर्जामी रहे हो व्याप. अपने कर्तव्य जाने आप. Kartab is here is translated as ways, right? The things he's doing. Kartab is also something, kota karte, miracle, right? The things he's doing, all the great things which are happening because of him, he himself knows. He knows all of his ways. What is he doing? Antarjami rahyo vyap. He's Antarjami. He's the inner knower of everything. Rahyo vyap. He's inner knower. He's the searcher of hearts. And Hartha vyapak hai. He's present. Vyap. Vyap raya hai. He's present everywhere. So again and again, Sadhguruji reassures us, right? And then throughout the Gurbani, there's message that yes, he's there, he's everywhere, he's close to your hand, Hath Dekho, right? Hazur, you should see him through Naam, you connect to him. And reassuring is always that he's there. Prit Palay Jian Bahopat. He's there and he's Prit Palay, Palda hai, Pritpalna karta hai. Jian, the living beings, Bahopat, in many variety of different ways. Baho, variety of different ways. He's taking care of them, supporting all his living beings in so many different ways. Jojo rachyo, so tisehtiat. He says, whatever he has created, that's meditating on him, connected to him. Udityan vich hai. It's a very important thing, right? So we see that nature, it says like Gurbani says, right, that Naam is in everything, that it says it's in the nature, it's in everywhere, right? Ped, samundar, right? So it's, and we can see, I mean, and with our senses and eyes and everything, right? How all that nature aligns with everything. right? It's sometimes we get so used to it that we don't ਉਹਦੇ ਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਰਤਬ ਨਹੀਂ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ miraculous things ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸਮਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ, we ignore them, right? The kind of things which happen, how like in not even just like how the nature itself takes care of itself, right? Not only that, if you get a wound, how it heals, what heals it. In a jungle, when you see a herd of animals, how do they coordinate? You know, somewhere there's a fire, how do they all go away from it? How do they signal each other, right? How there is a connection between a mother and a baby, right? Because they are all connected. Jojo rachyo. But when that self freedom, that will, human will, ਉਹ ਜਦੋਂ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਮਾਇਆ ਲਾਗੇ ਆਣ ਸਵਾਏ, when ਉਹ ਜਦੋਂ ਪਰਦਾ ਪੈ ਜਾਂਦਾ, then we disconnect, and then the whole thing is about that what was it inside you, get closer to it, get closer to your inner self, and then you will reach that Vaheguru. जिस पावै तिस लय मिलाए, भगत करहे हर के गुण गाए. Whosoever, जिस पावै तिस लय मिलाए, whoever pleases him, whoever he's pleased with, this lay milai, then he blends, merges that person with himself. Bhagat kahe har ke gun gaye. Saying the state of those such beings who have merged with him. Says, what do? Then they do the devotional service. Bhagat karhe har ke gun gaye. And then they're always singing his praises, his virtues, singing the glorious praises of God. Man antar biswas kar manya. In their mind, they have a total faith. This is heartfelt faith here. This is they have total belief, full faith. Biswas kar manya. They believe in him. They are merged with him. They believe in him. And then they live their life by doing that devotional service, by singing his praises. And that's staying in connection with him. His seva is doing what he would do. He's doing it through you. Satgurus, they are Sargun Roop of that Vaheguru. Man antar biswas kar manya, karan har nanak ik janya. In their eyes, that karan har wala, karan wala, that creator God, oh Nanak, they've realized that there's that one Karanwala in everything. They recognize it, Jaan lende hain, they understand it. They realize it, that there is that one being, one creator being. Jan laga har ek कहनाए, इसकी आस न बिरती जाए, सेवक को सेवा बन आई, हुक्म बूझ परम पद पाई, इसते ऊपर नहीं विचार, जाके मन बसया निरंकार, बंधन तोर भय निर्वैर, अनदिन पूजै गुर के पैर, एह लोक सुखिए परलोक सुहेले, नानक हर प्रभ आप मेले, जन लागा हर एक नाई. He says such beings, such humble servants. Jan is just a being. You know, any person, any being is called Jan. Janta. Laga har ek naai. That person who has lag gaya hai. Har ek de naam vich lag gaya hai. Who has committed to his name. Tiski aas na birthi jaye. None of their hopes go in vain. Birthi nahi, vyarth nahi jandi. The one who is connected to Naam, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਨਾਮ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੁੜ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ, ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ, ਉਸ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਆਸ਼ਾ, hope ਵਿਅਰਥ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਂਦਾ. Very well written, right? And that's any kind of hope. सेवक को सेवा, you know, it also in the previous Ashpati, if you remember, it says that pasrya pasar vi sant de ਲਈ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ. It says this, that state of presence of Vaheguru, and then he created this world, and it says that this world is created for those Santjan, those who are in devotion and connection. The things, the creation keeps happening for them. सेवक को सेवा बन आई, हुक्म बूझ परम पद आई, पाई, right? So he says that Jan, that sevak, that humble servant, his whole purpose is to serve that Vaheguru. Seva bani ai. It becomes his, the seva is his. Hukam booj param pad pai. What has happened to him? Seva, why is he doing that seva? And what is that seva? What is he doing? Seva, what? Ki karda hai? Kedi seva karda hai? Hukam booj. ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹ ਹੁਕਮ ਨਾਲ ਬੁੱਝਦਾ ਹੈ, the whole practice, the whole ਇਸੇ ਕਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ is to ਬੁੱਝਣਾ ਹੁਕਮ. That is the whole thing for a human. ਬੁੱਝਿਆ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੁੱਝਿਆ, ਸਮਝ ਆਇਆ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਇਆ, ਹੁਕਮ ਬੂਝ, ਜੇ ਬੁੱਝ ਲਿਆ ਪਰਮ ਪਦ ਪਾਈ, then you get that param pad, supreme status. What has he done by doing that seva? And what is he doing by doing that seva? He's staying in the hukam. He's doing what that Vaheguru himself will do. He's doing the will of Vaheguru. Vaheguru is doing his will through him. They're all the same. Iste upar nahi vichar. And once he has done that hukam bujh liya hai, then ki vichar reh gaya? What thoughts are left? Koi vichar karna reh hi nahi gaya. Above that, there is nothing, no other discussion, thought left. All thoughts and discussions focused until the hukam is bhujna. When hukam is bhujna, ki reh gaya? Seva, right? Iste upar nahi vichar, jaake man basya nirankar. And then in his mind, that Vaheguru, that nirankar, that formless, which has no akar, resides in the mind of that being. That mind itself is, there's no akar to it, right? You are sitting here and you're thinking with your mind too about India or wherever, right? The mind itself has no akar too. Right? It goes at the speed of light, even beyond that, right? Jaake man basya nirankar. Bandhan tor bhay nirvair, andin pooche gur ke pair, gur ke pair. What do they become? Their bandhan, their bondages to that, you call it Maya, right? To bondages to that other things. They do everything with the hukam now. They're connected to the hukam. They're connected to Vaheguru, and they see that one. They're connected to that one. They see that one operating everywhere too. And then what happens to them? They become nirvair. They have no hatred for anything. It's all in the hukam. Bandhan tor, but they have cut away those bandhan. There are other things too which are causing bandhan, and they have recognized them. They're away from them. Andin puja gur ke pair. And also day and night, पूजें, they worship gur ke pair, that guru, that teacher, the spiritual teacher who gave them that knowledge of the reality of this existence of Vaheguru. They worship the lotus feet of that guru. And throughout Gurbani, it says, you cannot attain that knowledge without guru. It's not that kind of knowledge which will come to you by itself. You take this janam, you come in connection with Satguru's Bani, and then you start having that knowledge. ਇਹ ਲੋਕ ਸੁਖੀਏ ਪਰਲੋਕ ਸੁਹੇਲੇ ਨਾਨਕ ਹਰ ਪ੍ਰਭ ਆਪੇ ਮਿਲੇ ਲੋਕ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ all this experience through this world, this is that becomes peaceful, and parlok also suhela, suhana, suhavna, happy, blissful, peaceful, whatever you call it. Nanak har prab ape mele, is a lok sukhiye parlok suhele. This world and the next world is all peaceful for such beings. Means, O Nanak, that Vaheguru himself unites them. Har prab ape mile. Right? And then Satgurus in the whole Bani keep telling us we need to keep doing our efforts, and then that Hari, that Prabhu will join us too, will merge us too. I'll go through this story and then Pada, and then we'll go do vichar. साध संग मिल कर हो आनंद गुण गावो प्रभु परमानंद राम नाम तत करो विचार दुर्लभ देखा करो धार अमृत बचन हर के गुण गाओ प्राण तरन का है सुआओ पाठ पहर प्रभु पेखो नेरा मिटे अज्ञान बिन सै अंधेरा सुन उपदेश हृदय बसावो मन इच्छे नानक फल पावो. So in the two padas described in the previous one, the last two we did, of the state of such beings, right? Now it's the teaching to us, you know, what and the hints to us what we can do, right? Sad sang mil karo anand. He says, join the company of the holy, sad sang, and then remain at peace or remain at bliss. Mil, in the company of that holy saints, remain at that bliss, anand. How gun gavo prabhu parmanand. By praising that Prabhu Paramanand, who is the giver of all happiness. Paramanand, that Prabhu Paramanand, Prabhu Paramanand, he's the one who's the giver of, that Prabhu who is the giver of all the happiness. It's his embodiment of supreme bliss. Ram Nam Tat Karo Vichar. He's persuading you, Ram Nam Tat Karo Vichar. That name of that one divine, that Ram, Hari, Vaheguru, Tat Karo Vichar. Try to understand by contemplating on the essence of that Naam. Durlabh deh ka karo udhar. And this way, this Durlabh, this rarely found human body which has been given to you, take it to the next level, emancipate it, redeem it. It's so difficult to obtain. And then you have this body experience that Nam, right? And then you redeem that body also. Amrit bachan har ke gun gao, pran taran ka ihe swao. What else do you do with this body? What's prescribed? Sing, gao, amrit bachan. Through the ambrosial words, sing the glorious praises of that Vaheguru. Any words you use to sing the glorious praises of the Vaheguru are ambrosial words, are the Amrit Bachan. Pran taran ka ihe swao. And in those bachan comes the Naam, the connection to the Naam too. Right? Through those is how you get connected to that Naam, which is your medium to go to that source. Pran taran ka ihe swao. ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਣ ਲਿੱਤੇ ਹੋਏ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਸਰੀਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੈ ਲਏ ਪ੍ਰਾਣ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤਾਰਨਾ ਵੀ ਹੈ. There's a purpose of this human life to get emancipated, to liberate yourself. ਤਰਨ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ, ਭਾਉ ਜਲ ਤੋਂ ਤਾਰਨਾ, to through this ocean of life. Some translators are terrible ocean of life. Says pran taran ka ihe swao. He says to save this pran, that is the way, that is the only way. That's why Guru Nanak, he's trying to answer just one question. There's a one very basic question Guru Nanak in all his Bani, and same for other spiritual beings, right? That's where their name comes. Why do we have to suffer? Why there is a suffering in everyone, in every human? What's the mystery? Right? That's that one thing. And that's Guru Nanak very clearly and in a very straightforward way tells all the secrets that here, this is why, that Janam itself is in this kind of Maya. If you have come here, means you are entangled. There's some efforts you have to do. Tarna hai, apne aap nu tarna hai, prana nu tarna hai. Right? That's the purpose. Aat pahar prabh pekho nera, mite agyan bin se andhera. Aat pahar 24 hours no 8 pahar which kar denge na 3 घंटे करके 9 to 12 to, and then all the Harmandir Sahib has all the rags prescribed. They keep changing that with different pahar. What are the right ambience to experience that Vaheguru? And then those rags come. Basically, that's what is the right ambience? Singing. Bar singing. For your body and your ears and for senses, what is the right ambience which is being created that you can sense now? Through those senses, you can sense. And then you go to that beyond senses. Saying, right? Praat pahar prapekho nera. So visualize, have a vision of that God next to you all 24 hours a day. And it's not even in saying, all the methods which have been prescribed by Sadhgurus are so beautiful. They're rare. They're unfound in this whole universe. Even if you just go to a place like this, where there is a Bani, where there's a rags prescribed, right? You feel then there's nothing else disturbing you. You do little effort. You don't have to do so much effort. You have to do little effort, and you can feel the presence. Then says art pehar pra pekho nera, do certain something so that you can see that Vaheguru. That's why can naam japo, right? Mite agyan binse andhera, and that's how all your ignorance, that ignorance, that spiritual ignorance will go away, and that darkness will be destroyed. Sun upades hirday basavo, man ichhe nanak phal pao. He says, listen to the teachings of Sadhguru. And not just listen to him, vasalo, man vich andar vasalo, hirday vich vasalo. What does it really mean, hirday vich vasalo, right? Somebody was asking. Have them reside inside you when because it's not very easy for your mind to solve all the logic and understand right then ki ek kehta. Te sab logic bhi lag gaya, te is karke. Every mind is different, right? It says hirday basao, that knowledge and that bujna, understanding, will keep coming. Basao ta sahi. First, apne andar kar kao, enshrine them in your heart. And that once you have enshrined them in your heart, that knowledge will come. Holy knowledge bhi aa jayegi. Mind has to solve it its own way. Mind bhi solve kar lega. चाहे वो साइंस ने इक्वेशंस लाके करे, चाहे वो कुछ आर्ट दिया, राग दिया इक्वेशंस, everybody is on their path. There are certain paths which are more easier, which where you start feeling more easier, more quickly. Music, all pagats go to music then, but there's a lot of different kind of creativities which happen from such folks. And that the knowledge comes, the knowledge opens up. But first, you have to enshrine it in your heart. And that's what it says. Upades, Sadguru da Updes, Manno, have faith in Sadguru, and Oda Updes Hirday Basavo, and you will experience. Then through the experience, you will know. Andar kar jayega, man lega, man vi man lega. And then man ichhe nanak phal pavo. Says, man gaya hai na, now that man di ichha, you will always obtain fruits of that mind's desires. Anand Sahib, 6 paudiyaan kar diyan. E man merya tu sada roho har nale. It's just requesting the mind. E man merya tu sada roho har nale. Har naal roho tu man mere, dukh sab vitsarna. Angikar o kare tera. Karaj sab savarna. Since once you unite, sab hukam booj wala bhi ho gaya na. Now, like if you are doing things, your mind is united. If your mind is with that one divine connection in that will, then कारज तो अपने आप ही सारे पूरे हो गए, क्योंकि वो कारज ही रब दे कारज है, right? तो इच्छावां भी रब दियां बन गया ना. It depends on your surroundings what ichha is coming, but still it becomes the ichha of that Rab. I think we can take comments at this point. I'm reading in the chat box something. Is there Paul Ji? Oh, I see Avtar Ji also. Anything you want to add?
Well, it looks like the key here is contemplate the essence of the Lord's name. This is same thing as we discussed earlier. Jitcher mukat na hovai, jitcher shabad na kare vichar. So contemplate the essence is the key. ਹੁਣ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਨਾਮ ਜਪਣਾ ਕਹਿ ਲਓ ਜਾਂ ਕੀ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ there are different phrases being used, but this is the essence that vichar ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ, that's the vichar of the essence, which is different from uttering, singing, japna and all that. So I feel like that's the key here, that's the key message. जब तक विचार नहीं हुंदा, as a skeptical, विचार मतलब you are asking questions about, you are questioning it, and then you get to the essence when you get the answer. For that time you have the secret of ki manno kidda, how it should be just ratlo anu, you know, that's it's not that. So Bani is saying contemplate the essence. Contemplate means vichar. As a skeptic, you ask questions. There's an effort required in all this. So the other day, Paulji was saying that, is there an effort or will it come by itself? But Bani is saying when you contemplate, that's effort to find the reality. So Bani wants us to do that effort. Contemplation is effort. And that's one way to reveal what's underneath reality. So to me, that's probably the essence of this pada.
And it's too deep. Hukam bhuj parampad paya. So that is so important. Hukam bhujna by contemplating is very important. That's what it's saying. But there's another thing it's saying too. It's saying hukam bhuj parampad paya. After you have contemplated, bhujna is everything. That's what you are saying, right? There's another thing also. It's saying ki jinna ne bhuj liya hai. What do? Then they do the sing Vaheguru's praises and remain in the devotion. फिर वो नाम जपते हैं और रसना नाल भी जपते हैं. And so that's where that depth comes, and that's what that reverse engineering comes, you know, like जिਵੇਂ वो योगी दे आसन बनते हैं ना, like they found when you are connected, this is how you feel, and now if I do my body this way, this is how I feel, right? That's how the yoga is involved. So same thing, it's like those जिन्हां ने बुझ लिया है, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਦੇ ਗੁਣ ਗਾਉਂਦੇ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੈ ਕਿ join the company of holy and sing with them. Then ਉਹ ਬੁਝਣਾ ਵੀ ਆਸਾਨ ਕਰਵਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਬੁਝਣਾ ਵੀ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਹੈ. So it's like it's also telling you ਕਿ ਬੁਝੋ ਵੀ, you know, whichever way that bhujna comes, do that efforts. But that's very important. That parampad is with bhujna.
Yeah, ji, in one context, bhujna hai, but in the other thought, bhujna ki hai or kis tarah hai. Okay, so it's a very convoluted state of thoughts and mind sometimes. The mind can play a game for this, at least on anybody. Then आज सवेरे कुछ सुन रहा सीगा, वो कहते भाई सुन हो जा तुम. Okay, अगर सुन हो गया ते then that's also, in that case you're not japping, you're not meditating, you're not focusing, you know, but shant. You know, there's so many different ways. I'm sure they're all right from their point of view, but as a human mind, it throws a tantrum within us कि भाई केड़ा रात सिद्धा है, केड़ा ठीक है. बाणी कह रही है, दोनों चीजें कह रही है, भाई शांत भी हो जा, बुझ भी, सुन भी, नाम भी जाप, सिमरन भी कर. You know, each path has its own uniqueness. So I think, Baba, I don't know, please help us. You know, you hold us and take us wherever it's supposed to be. अंदर बैठा है, बाणी के अंदर बैठा है. रब्बा ठीक है, मैं और तू एक ही हैं, जब मैं नहीं तब तू है, पर मैं मेरे को निकलती भी नहीं, कोई आप जी रदनाल निकलनी है. So it's just, I don't think there's really one easy, simple answer. Maybe there is. Maybe this guy's playing games, so I don't know how to kind of, you know, that's the की बुझना दसो. ज्यादा उयो है, उयो सुना रहे हैं, उयो सुन रहे हैं, उयो समझ रहे हैं, तो फिर पिछे की रह गया. पिछे यो कि मैं नहीं है, जब मैं है तो कहता यार नहीं मैं है, तो फिर वो कौन है? बुझन वाला भी वही है, देखने वाला भी वही है, बुझान वाला भी वही है, मत देने वाला भी वही है, संगत करने वाला भी वही है. तो सब कुछ हुआ तो फिर पीछे की है. Then we should be acting and behaving same as him, but at the same time we don't. We have दुनिया दे पंजो तत्व, फड़ के बैठे हैं, काम क्रोध लोभ अहंकार, डर भी लग रहे हैं, because we're not truly connected there. Does it make sense? Am I making some thing, or is it all hogwash?
No, there are a lot of things you are saying, and they are all true in a way, but I think Gurbani is trying to say it very simply. We are not able to understand it in that simple way, right? Gurbani, let's just see in this pada, if you just focus on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one thing they said is hukam bujna is very important. The rest of the things it tells is the way to hukam bujna. And that's always, we always say, right? Hukam is connected. If you are, everything is just a one message. Hukam bujna, if you live this life, the live of this life has to happen with hukam. One simple rule. Second is, why that hukam we don't understand? Because of ego, and that's whole different talk, and we keep bringing that up. That's a second thing. Third thing is, how do you hukam bujna? And there are so many ways. You can take any single thing. Gun gavo, saat sangat karo, सुनने वाला तुसी क्या है? What do you do सुन की वो सुन ये नहीं कहते कि तुसी सुन अवस्था विच हो जाओ ते सो जाओ वो कहते सुन होके aware होके observe can you get to that you don't have your own thoughts you are, and how do you get to that is that sun. You are as aware as the awareness around you. You're observer. The more you observe, the more you will bhujna ki hunda ki pya, why hunda pya, right? So if those two are the key, living this life in hukam, the ones who have understood how to do that and who have understood what's a hukam, right? And knowing that ego comes in the way which doesn't, and knowing, which Bani tells us, is that through Satguru's teachings, his word, to those who are already there, who are already enlightened, is how you get to that state. Likh ke rakh lo. And then rest of that, just connect. All those confusions and questions, they connect to each other. Something you have to, okay, nina antar tar lena, just say hirde basavo. Something you have to write in your hirda, and then you have to let the knowledge solve rest of the confusions. I mean, that's it keeps repeating the same message because it's not so easy. It is because it is every time it just comes with the same questions, and that's why in the whole Gurbani it's repeated all over again. Right? But every Shabad, is unique and it's complete. There's no need when you're doing one Shabad, jitho shuru hunda hai te end Nanak to aake khatam ho janda hai na, ਉਹਦੇ ਸਾਰਾ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਵੀ ਹੈ, ਸਾਰੀ ਮੀਨਿੰਗਸ ਵੀ ਹੈ. There is never a need ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਦੇਖੋ ਜਾਂ ਕੁਝ ਕਰੋ. It is always complete in itself, right? Whatever message it has to give.
From your understanding, what is the hukam? And what is the hukam? And ਉਹ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਸਮਝਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬਾਬੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਮਝੀਏ. From your understanding, ਉਹ ਹੁਕਮ ਦੀ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਮਾਲਕ?
Hukam, he's saying the will. That's what it's translated as. In a very layman thing, you have been given birth, right? All of us are born here, except that you're born for a purpose. And and Gurbani says, yes, you are, right? You are connected to that Vaheguru. It says when after you are born, there is all of this pull which happens to you, and there's so much Bani, like you were saying, what we should take next time, right? Which describes about how at every avastha, Bal avastha and the youth and all, we keep forgetting that. And it actually, Bani says that when a person is in the mother's womb, he's in full awareness. When person is born, is full enlightenment state. It's all knowledge is there. And then Bani says so what is the hukam? The hukam is how are you using your body you're living, how you're being with that one being. Are you doing things in connection with him? And once you understand that, and then there's all these states, right? If you remain in that state of bliss, if you have that peace inside, then you yourself, once you are on this path, once you start doing uh, uh, practice, right? Start reading Bani, start understanding, contemplating, you also start to experience when are you in hukam and when you are not. ਤੇ ਉਹ ਹੁਕਮ ਬੁਝਣਾ ਹੀ ਫਿਰ ਤਪੱਸਿਆ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ. That's why it's ਕੋਈ ਆਸਾਨ ਗੱਲ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਡਿਸਕ੍ਰਾਈਬ ਹੋ ਜਾਏ ਇਸ ਹੁਕਮ ਬੁਝਤਾ ਪਰਮ ਪਦ ਪਾਇਆ. But you can describe what is in hukam. In hukam is whatever is happening in his will. Are you at peace? And see, they say that creativity which Rab wasta hai. Everybody has their own quotes, all different religions. Bachchiyan vich Rab wasta hai, creativity vich Rab wasta hai, is art which, and you can just see how your mind just becomes timeless when it's even watching somebody playing that game at the end, you know, tennis khelde, and you are right there in that presence. Not when you're watching 3 hours movie, because then you're fallen below that level of awareness, right? It's being with that presence, and that's a journey to realize that, right? So it's we'll just I think the way also it helps is generally what I do is everywhere there's a hukam listed in Gurbani, just get those quotes and try to understand that, right? I think I did some slide set on that. We can just go over that sometime too. Not so easy things to understand. Hanji.
Just one thought. Hukum in scientific term is the law. And the law of the universe. That's the universe. That's the hukum. And is basically one law of which every thousands of laws in science, they just emanate from one law. The mother law, you can call it the mother of all laws, is simply ek onkar. Basically what that says, it's all one. And in that, you actually summarize the Einstein theory of relativity. What that says, mass is energy, energy is mass. What ek onkar says, jo vi hai, it's him. So whatever existed exists now and will exist later. That's what law of conservation. That's one law of the universe. That simply tells you it's ek onkar everywhere. You are ek onkar, this stone is ek onkar, this clouds, this sky, this space, time, mass, galaxy, this all ek onkar. What exists always existed. So law of conservation. So basically that's the hukam. And that hukam teaches you that whatever it is ek onkar, the ultimate consciousness energy. Einstein says E is equal to mc square, that energy is mass, mass is energy. If you take everything in the universe, the galaxies, the stars, the human beings, the animals, the plants, they all have mass, convert that to energy, it will come, that energy is ek onkar. And that's the law. So once you understand that law, that hukam, then we know that it's all forms of the same one whole energy of the universe, which is ek onkar, which is Sachkhand. So it's very simple law of conservation, that he is conserved in everything. The OJ law samajh aa gaya scientifically, then we already know, we want to know now man is gone. Man is also him. That because it's conserved, that man, you know, he is conserved, the ultimate energy is conserved into that man. So man does not have its own existence. So it's basically, it's the law that is the hukam. But it's generally translated ke or order लिखिया रब ने preordained कोई कागज ने लिखिया कि तेरा है होना है, तेरा fate है, तेरा है, तेनू कदों जमाना है, तेनू कदों की करना है, तेनू कदों enlighten करना है, तेनू कदों मारना है, वो हुक्म लिखिया नहीं हुआ. That's not hukam. It's not an order from a dictator. So hukum is the law of conservation, that it's him everywhere.
पर हुक्म अंदर सब कुछ बाहर हुक्म ना कोई.
Exactly.
But आना जाना, enlighten होना नहीं होना, that's also part of the hukum, right? From that context, from that point of view.
That process is carried under the hukum. But the outcome of that process is not preordained or predetermined.
Okay, because quite often people do refer that everything is preordained and predetermined. You are only playing the game. You're only playing your role as a puppet. He's pulling your strings and you are playing your act. You are just nothing more.
That's misinterpretation. But take example, law of gravity. Law of gravity does not say you're going to fall or not. It says if you stood up straight, you will not fall. If you bent down, you are going to fall. It does not determine whether you're going to fall or not. So the law hukam determines the process to which it's subject to, not the end result. So that's the big misinterpretation of hukum is it's preordained likhya. Gravity,
because again, this is only coming from other people from within Sikhism trying to explain or share the points of view, and there's billions of people following that process, and there's million people following different processes. They're all kind of everything falling in their various hukams. Like every religion may be having their own hukam in which they're operating. We also in our own within Sikhism, there's so many different pieces that we're trying to follow whatever we can.
So I think let me just I want to comment here. I think there's a hukam in Gurbani,
okay,
and there's hukam in the in every religion, which is written by the person, the enlightened beings who wrote themselves, and there are other hukams. There's no we shouldn't be confusing them, right? So hukam in Gurbani is the will of that Vaheguru, right? It is when Gurbani says you stay in hukum. Yes, there are different levels of hukum. Yes, for this whole universe and whole humanity together, the hukum is ikumkar. You are a being in there, and of course you realize that itself, realizing that there's a one is it's a big long journey to understand that. When Gurbani says over here hukam bujna apne vaste, is telling you, at least understand what is your hukam. Why are you here? What is the essence of your existence? You have to live this life. How are you supposed to live it in connection with that Vaheguru? Means live it with the will of that Vaheguru. And that is your individual. That's what is your inner. That's how jinu jada bujna hai, that you do it through naam, through your practice. That is not somebody else's. He says every path is different for enlightenment, though it goes to the same destination. It's just that's all what it is saying. See, the way it starts, that pura hukam bujna, for the entire ikumkar hukam bujna, the first path is, have you apne aap nu bujhya ki nahi, apne andar bujhya ki nahi, right? So, and then there are different levels to it. Once you start, and that's where all of these practices come. Oh, bujhan vaste ye sariyan practices hundi hai na, and holy, and the path towards that one divine is through, that channel is through yourself. But if it everywhere, mostly in the Sukhmani Sahib, right? If you don't even give yourself a chance, you are so much, your mind is so much in the charon directions, is just like running around, wandering around. So if you haven't even given a chance to it, and it's so many places it says, it is, Kabir ji says, right, manta magal hoye reho, right? It's just, it's so simple. There's so much simplicity to it that ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੁੱਝ ਵੀ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਨਾ, that you don't even realize that you are, right? But that's the state it's asking you to be in, to live this life in that state. So yeah, that's what I wanted to add among all of the other I think comments there. I see some, yeah, I see some of the chats from you can read them. Yeah, I think that's what I just wanted to, mostly what happens is it's more simpler, the meanings are more straightforward and more simpler, but where we try to connect them with each other is what creates a lot of complexity for us to understand them logically.
Authority, I have a question for you.
Sure.
What is the correlation between the mass, energy, and consciousness? Where does the consciousness fit into the mass and energy?
Very good question. Actually, I'm going to a conference next April. It's on consciousness, with a paper of an integrated model of matter, mind, and consciousness. So very good question. So consciousness in a nutshell, that's also very, in science, also very limitedly understood concept. Basically, if you look in science, they call the neurobiological consciousness, which is sensory consciousness. That is most prevalent definition of consciousness in science, because that's the consciousness that you can shut down with anesthesia. That's what science deals with, which is the consciousness of the brain induced. So that's one definition. So if you go in science, they, in any conference, when you talk about this universal consciousness, which is Barney is talking about, or which is we all talk about, which is not biological, then that consciousness comes to really, if you, the way I define it, if you took everything in the universe and you convert that to energy by is equal to mc square, everything in the universe, everything, even thoughts have mass energy, because they're particles, smallest of the particle. Convert everything, whatever is left as one homogeneous existence of the universe is universal consciousness. And that, in that state of definition of the universe, it's not measurable because it's absolute. There's nothing relative. You can't put an instrument there because instrument is also dissolved into that consciousness. So there is nothing, there's no absolute relativity at all. Any measurement needs relativity. You need a measuring instrument and something what you measure. But in that state, they're all become one. Merger, a complete merger of everything into one wholeness. And that is what Barney would say, Sachkhand, or the Ekonkar, or whatever, the state. It's a state of being, of existence. That's how.
We know that the mass goes to energy and energy becomes mass. Where does the consciousness come from and where does it merge with?
Okay, the fact that the capability for that law, the hukam, that is equal to MC square. And every place and everything in the universe is aware of it. You see, this E is equal to MC square is not a dead thing. There won't be any law like that if the universe was dead. That awareness of the universe itself, that is equal to MC square at every location and time in the universe itself is consciousness. Only a conscious universe will have a law like that. And that is the hukam. That consciousness for the universe to know these laws without any external agency is the consciousness. Is itself is the consciousness.
So I would want to add there.
Does that answer your question, Inderji?
Yeah, you did, in a way, but I'm a little bit confused of
These questions are never answered, right? In general, to be discussed, right?
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I think in the answer there was a quote.
It's one way to look at, but again, the consciousness has neither mass or energy. What is it?
is the awareness of the universe of the laws. The awareness itself is the consciousness.
But how did it originate? Like we have been, this world started from a very dense mass to energy, or energy to mass. What is the origin of the consciousness?
It's a question which our mind is asking, because our mind is putting that question in a framework of time. Time does not exist in the universe. Universe does not even understand that question, because there's no clock or time in the universe. But our mind has one clock. So that question is coming from a mind who wants to know in terms of its own coordinates of which time is one.
But consciousness and matter, they are two different things, right? And that's what prevails. The matter is a matter.
Matter is form of consciousness.
Matter is more, consciousness is something that unseen awareness. Matter is a matter, right? Which is the elements, okay. It's a mass. That's
even let's go to Gurbani. Gurbani will say that God is in a stone.
No. It's not. No,
it's a
it
degree.
says those are matter. Those are the elements in matter. It doesn't say God is in stone.
So
it doesn't.
That's where when you define, when you fragment the reality into matter, mind, and consciousness, you are lost.
No. So consciousness, there's awareness. As a human, we are talking about the reality of a human. As a human reality, there's a consciousness, which is average human experience 10% of consciousness. The rest is unconsciousness, subconsciousness. The hypnotist people understand your subconscious. There's others who can even understand the unconscious, right, through their meditations. And that's one supreme consciousness, and all of that can be called being aware, where you come, according to Gurbani, where you get into a state when you're sada jagat rahe man jada, when you're aware of all of those consciousness, is an avastha of certain beings.
Correct. So
right, but the matter is different. The matter is what you're composed of, right? The matter is what this whole dharam khand jada hai na, whole this earth jadi banai hai, so that your awareness can rise.
So
dharam khand ta baniya hi hai na,
you take consciousness as a, for example, a steam. Let's say it's a steam avastha. You freeze it a little bit, becomes water. You freeze it more, becomes ice. But it's water. Same way.
Oh, that's how you are trying to say. You are saying that consciousness, itself has become the matter.
Correct.
That's what you are trying to get at.
Exactly.
Yeah. Actually, you are trying from that. You're explaining from that perspective. Exactly. And I'm trying to explain from the human perspective on what we can see and feel, and how do we go from our consciousness to that up. You are saying from the up, this is what it is.
It works both ways. There's no up or down. Actually, the mind, from body to mind awareness to body awareness, we go to do meditation to become awareness of the universal consciousness. So it's all states, these are all states of enlightenment from body to consciousness. It's a one under one law, one hukam. These are not three different things. These are frozen. A rock is a frozen state of consciousness.
Yeah, I think, yes, there's many ways for science to say those things. That's, I mean, when it comes to religion, you can relate any of those to anything.
It's very different, but
Right.
Aptaji, you made mention about the anesthesiologist. So I was talking to an anesthesiologist at the hospital because somebody was going through an operation. So I really asked him, I said, you know, you are taking a patient and you are going to do massive surgery, but you are inducing chemicals, okay, and you're kind of putting them down. You're not putting them to sleep, but you are putting completely out, so there's not completely aware of anything. I said, are you impacting, I know you're impacting biochemically, but are you impacting their consciousness? He says, you know, to be honest, I really do not know the science part and the spirituality part. I said, but what are you bringing back after the operation? Because, you know, you are doing something in one direction, you kind of disconnecting somebody, because if it was only sleep, then somebody can wake you up, but you're putting them in, you're disconnecting their consciousness so you can completely open them up without any pain. And that means you are disconnecting them from the higher sources. But when you're bringing them back, you're reconnecting them to that. I said, do you know what you are connecting and disconnecting? He was an honest guy. He said, Paul, that's beyond my understanding or science understanding. All we know that biochemically, we put this thing in, this thing happens, and then something, somehow it comes back.
See,
So,
neurology, right?
My feeling is that consciousness is nothing but awareness of your existence. Awareness of your existence is consciousness.
I mean, that is all fine. I think consciousness, as it's described in dictionary, is also very right. The consciousness can be awareness too. The whole thing, what Gurbani tells us, can you go to a state where you are always aware, right? I think our question should be, and all of that, science will always be behind, right? If you go to the religious scriptures, any religious scripture, right, which has been written and have been contemplated and analyzed, right? But to that level, what Gurbani is trying to say is, can you get to a state, whatever you call it, you know, Sovat, Jagna, right? Chetna, Chit is used, right? Shiva, that's the consciousness. De Shiva, that consciousness of the total universe. De Shiva bar moye hai, Guru Gobind Singh. Oh, words which lose ho janda hai na. That's the consciousness of the whole universe. It's like, give me that power, give me that boon. It's talking to that consciousness of the whole universe. So it says awaken to that. Now in science and in whichever language you call whatever words, but I think the main thing is, are we able to understand what is being said, right? And then there's all the analysis and everything. But
my question is, when you're under an anesthesia, are you conscious or you're not conscious? Is that
you can be very aware. So under anesthesia, what is taught, and this is not, you can be completely aware. Actually, but your nerves to the pain is not happening. That pain goes away, but you are aware of about everything. You know that's called awareness. That's not your bodily pain which you are feeling because they have understood how to, right? But awareness is there, and there are people who are aware throughout. They understand what's going around them, but they don't feel the pain. Hanji Avtarji.
During anesthesia, you are fully conscious. Your heart is beating.
Exactly. Yeah.
I asked this question to my son Mandeep, who's an anesthesiologist. He every day do heart surgeries. He says that basically you are cutting signals with anesthesia from your senses, all the senses. Signals are cut to the brain, but brain is controlling your heartbeat, it's controlling blood flow, and anesthesiologist monitors all those during surgery when there is no sensory awareness. They have to monitor and keep the person alive because the brain is fully conscious and functioning and controlling the body. That's why you don't die. Anesthesia will be failed if they die during surgery.
Agreed. Agreed.
So it's a fully conscious. So consciousness is not experience of your existence. It is beyond that. That experience is only sensory, and it can easily be shut off by anesthesia.
And I think, just coming back to our discussion, so there are people who ask what is a right meditation? The right meditation is not the one where you don't know what was happening. The right meditation is the one where you're fully aware to every detail and minute consciousness of everything around you when you're doing that meditation. That is the right meditation. Right? So now, what do you say? Consciousness, awareness, subconsciousness, or whatever, but however you describe it. But then it goes to the next higher level, right? Your awareness becomes more closer to that awareness which is around you, right? Or you can say awareness of that one connection, that one divine.
Right. So in extreme case of meditation or samadhi, they call it samadhi, which is complete sun, the same thing as sun. All the energy going to thoughts is now converted to the energy of awareness, which is universal awareness. And that is the state of that ultimate universal consciousness. In fact, that's the goal of meditation, to reach that state.
And Gigi, time reminder, we
Yeah,
are 12 minutes
we are running
over.
out of time. This is a long.
Yeah,
It's
we'll
a beautiful session. I wish we can continue forever, but
thank you.
God willing, Malik, ਸਮਝੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਮੱਤ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪੇ ਰਹਿਮਤ ਕਰਕੇ ਸਭ ਨੂੰ ਬਖਸ਼ ਦਿਓ please help us all.
Thank you, Neena ji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ji. Thank you,
Sahib.
Ji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.